Welcome to Horrorphobia,
Oh my God! He made it!
a spooky movie review podcast for the horror lovers and the horrorphobics alike.
Never saw them titties.
Watch your profanity.
I can't imagine why.
Those fucks.
Destroy the child.
Learn your lesson. We have to have some Halloween spirit.
Show us your balls or get the fuck out!
Without further interruption, let's celebrate and suck some dick.
Hey there, you miserable, you fucks, and welcome to Horrorphobia, spooky movie review podcast for the depressing horror lovers and the super depressed horrorphobics. I'm your depressed host, Jake. Next to me is my wife.
Hi, I'm Emily.
I'm glad to hear she's not
I am
depressed.
depressed.
I mean, she
Oh,
can
she is
decide for herself.
Oh, okay.
Are you depressed?
Yeah.
I'm convinced. Across the super depressing internet, we have our friend Ryan.
Hey.
I just imagine all of this subtitled.
And all the
I'll see
way
what the transcript says.
across the super suicidal internet, we have our friends Ian and Jake.
Ipushka. Hey.
We are a group of lifelong friends who review horror movies. Why horror movies? Because we're depressed.
Because there is no God. God left this country years ago.
I think we should we all go goth? We probably should.
Yeah, after this, yeah.
Imagine us goth during this whole thing.
We have a great
The dark
episode for you today. On this episode, we will be reviewing 1986's Come and See. First, we will do our movie synopsis, our spoiler-free review, and then we'll get everyone's score for the film. We review on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being a 10 being a and then Ryan, acting as a resident scaredy cat, will rate the spook factor of the film.
Can we change that to like a depressing factor for this one?
Yeah. Then Ryan, acting as a resident, will
Kill himself.
we'll rate the factor of the film.
I'll just blow my brains out mid podcast.
And then they're providing things. We're gonna talk about it.
Yeah, let's fucking skip that part. I don't give a shit.
Yeah. And
You
then
know what we do.
then we're going to the wheel. And do we have a
Things
game?
fly.
We don't have a game, right?
Oh, we don't have a game.
No games.
I'm fine with not having a game this
Let's
week.
just cheer each other up. Just try to make each other laugh.
That's true.
We'll play soccer on Christmas Eve, whatever. There'll be a ceasefire and
Okay.
wrong war.
Like I said before,
There was
Was it-
supposed to be an explosion on that. That was a fuse, and there was supposed to be an explosion.
I really
Even
not
the
better,
explosions are sad.
all right. As I said before, this week's movie is 1985's Come and See.
I thought it was 86.
Yeah, I know. I misspoke the first time. At least that's what my
Sorry, I didn't
that's
mean to call you out, dude. Let me
that's
send
what
a
my
mass
notepad
email
says.
to every fucking person that I know.
Make sure we all know what we're saying before we say.
Here is the synopsis. After finding an old rifle, a young boy joins the Soviet resistance movement against ruthless German forces and experiences the horrors of World War II. Here's my review. I don't think I've ever seen a film that has upset me as much as this one, nor has a film ever left me feeling so conflicted. Conflicted as to whether we, as a comedic-centric podcast, should be reviewing this film. Not because this movie isn't horrifying, because believe me, this is probably the most horrifying film I've ever seen. But it's because I feel like I'm too dumb to get all the nuances that this film has to offer, and because events like this have happened all too many times for me to make light of it. I know that enjoyment was not on the filmmaker's agenda when making it. All the same, I told everyone after I watched it that I felt like someone had been putting out lit cigarettes on me for 2.5 hours, and I definitely still feel that way. Much like the main character, it felt like I was rapidly aging, garnering wrinkles and gray hair because of how much this movie weighed on me. But still, I know that this movie is a masterpiece and it definitely feels like a necessary evil for all of us to fully understand the evils of warfare. It's a movie that you won't want to see, but a movie that everyone should see. This film should be played in classrooms and burned in the memories of school children everywhere. It was beautiful, tragic, and I never want to see it ever again. And that's why I'm giving this movie 10 dead cows out of 10.
Damn. Nice.
I don't want to be around anymore.
Oh,
I don't-
even the sad trombone can't get a chuckle in this.
I don't.
These days.
I don't pick easy movies.
Oh man,
Ryan, tell us about Come and See.
want to watch Come and See, but don't have access to it? No worries. As an alternative, invite your entire family over for dinner. When setting the table, be sure to cover it completely with broken glass and lemon juice, and then drag your balls across every square inch while describing to your parents in detail every porn category you've ever jacked off to. That should simulate the feeling. Horror takes many shapes. Some make you jump, some haunt your dreams, and some leave you cringing for 2.5 hours, begging for a joke, a boob, a Starbucks cup mistakenly left in frame, literally anything. That's Come and See. Every scene is stretched as long as possible to make you forget you're watching a movie, similar to something like Funny Games. The acting is hard to judge as it's a subtitled film, but the raw emotion of the characters is felt in every language. War movies typically focus on the physical aspects of conflict, explosions, blood, death. These are things that are easy to film. The mental aspects are very well known, but I believe sometimes we forget how truly horrifying war is. This film captures that feeling better than anything I've ever seen. Is this a good movie? I don't know, but I think it's an important one. Important because it shined a light on a side of war most people don't want to think about, but probably should. And I gave it an 8.8, less fun and Glorious Bastards.
Nice.
Okay. Ian.
So I'll start with the good. The cinematography was great. The close-up, like direct eye contact shots, and how the main kid's face would gradually get more disturbed through the movie. That was pretty sick. Great forest shots. I'd imagine that was pretty high on the cozy scale for other Jake. But yeah, this movie, it does a great job at putting like that cold-blooded horror and reality of war in perspective. The bad, the closest thing we got to a titty was the scene of them milking a cow. So that the moob scale.
Never saw them
think so.
titties.
Never saw him.
Firmly grasp it.
So yeah, the titty scale, it was a non-factor. Also, the time it took to watch this movie, I probably could have learned fluent German and possibly even traveled to Germany. Very, very long movie, but after like the hour and a half, 2 hour mark or whatever, like it gets much better. My only gripe is the pacing, but I think it was necessary for the film. So if you're a history professor or a World War II vet that's still alive and doesn't suffer from PTSD, this is the movie for you. So I'm giving it 8.7 rockets over Israel.
Oh.
Topical.
Okay.
Tropical.
Emily.
I was not looking forward to watching this movie. I've always said, and Jake's tried to change my mind, but I'm slowly changing my mind, but I've always said I didn't like war movies. It's just not my thing. I don't relate to them. They're either too quiet and too long or too patriotic, like America, fuck yeah type, and I don't like
Mm.
either of those. Um, and through the first half of this movie, I was just waiting for it to be over. I'm usually someone who likes surrealism, but the weirdness of the first half seemed unnecessary to me at first. Like the relationship between Fleora. Is that how you say his name? Fleora?
I think it's just
Flora?
Flora.
Flora? The
Yeah.
relationship between Flora and Kirsten Dunst was weird to me. Seemed unnecessary. I don't even know how she's old enough to be in this.
Probably not.
The second half, though, I did start to see the movie's importance, and maybe it's because Jake and I watched the movie in 2 parts.
I did too.
Yeah,
I
I
watched
think
it
it
like
made it a little
5.
bit
Oh my
easier.
god.
But yeah,
Yes.
I think I do understand why he made the first half of the film so detached and kind of surreal, because the second half seemed surreal, but it actually was realistic. That's what happened. Um, it seemed as far-fetched as the beginning. And I'm glad that I watched this. I'll never watch it again, but I
Mm.
do think it's an important movie. So I gave it an 8 out of 10 mud pies.
Nice.
Jake, this was your movie.
This
so-
was my movie. A surrealist slog through a Belarusian bog, and in the corner of some foreign field, I had a dream. Psych, it was a nightmare. Belarusian essentially means white Russian, and you might need a few or several after viewing this one, El Deuterinos. 80 to 90% of this film is medium and close shots, making you stare down the proverbial barrel and come and see. What your sights behold is the transition of portraits of those involved in the apocalypse taking place in the Eastern Bloc in 1943, victims and perpetrators alike, pulling the viewers through some of the vilest shit portrayed on film. The sound also follows the same formula in not giving the audience a moment of peace while you feel like some sort of disembodied element following helplessly through the fray. And speaking of audio, it climaxes with a fun whistling scene, which we'll get to.
Oh my god.
These scenes are long, but again, I feel that this is what makes it one of the most effective war movies ever made. It definitely makes you wander half dead and dazed into each scene, wondering how is any of this real. Reminiscent of the retro surrealism of The Wicker Man, I was thoroughly engrossed by the otherworldliness of this war tale. The eeriness brought me to its emotional crescendos despite my modern attention span. While I was expecting a long and terrible experience, and was fully expecting that, I will reluctantly say, could have been shorter. There was one scene in particular that broke me out of the spell for a minute, and even then, I found myself recalling other beloved anti-war material that I've taken in the past. I, like anyone else, find my niches, and I just like anti-war and history shit. So I feel like this was a biased one for me to pick, and there was a lot of just good stuff that I naturally like find myself open to. It's like almost like, I don't know, to me it's just the slowness of these films and just adds an effect. Like you're just, especially with the way the cinematography worked and the sound, the way they brought in sounds in an unnatural way and the way they held the gaze of the subject, it was so good, and it just made you buy in the entire time to these stories, even though you feel like somewhere you shouldn't be, and I feel like that's the way that it should be for this film. Anyway, I gave this movie 9.6 dead fascist fucking pigs.
Nice.
Hell yeah, dude.
I'm
Two,
the only
I have
one.
two.
Oh no, go ahead.
You only wanted the 10, you said?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? It was purely enjoyment factor. That's the only thing that
Yeah.
brought it down.
It's not enjoyable.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
like I said, that's not the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I
it's not.
completely understand that. I completely understand, and I probably should have rated it higher.
Mhm.
But two things, Jake, very well worded review. Like and the other thing I want to we're don't feel bad for nominating this because I am glad to have watched it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
Yeah, it's
you know what I
truly
mean? Like,
horror.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I feel like it is a very important movie, and I will. We're not in the spoilers yet, but like when we do get into it, if you have not seen this movie, definitely go watch it. But if you don't feel like you can watch it, at least listen to us talk about it. Like this is a movie I will say, like, if you want to listen to us talk about it before you watch it, and because you're not planning on watching it, you at least should hear us describe it.
Yeah.
Because this is important shit
Absolutely.
for people to know, and we're gonna try to make it as entertaining and make jokes as much as we can.
Yeah.
But just know that this affected each and every one of our souls in a way that none of our other movies have. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe close funny games.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Like-
I think the last time I used that same sentence was where I was like, it was beautiful, it was great, but I never want to watch it again. Was Funny Games. I think I ended my review of that one exactly the same.
It's a similar kind of thing where it's like there is no enjoyment to be had here.
Yeah.
And this is especially worse because this shit actually happened.
I
Yeah.
called
And they
this shit blind
fucking-
too.
And they
Yeah.
killed
I'd
so
never
many
seen this
animals
movie.
in this movie.
And looking into it, it's one of the I mean, we'll talk about it more, I guess, but one of them, it's on lists of like one of the top 100 movies that you should see.
Yeah.
I think it was number 42 is the thing I saw.
I
I wonder how
This is,
many
like,
I wonder how many countries or how many schools do make kids watch this in like high school or whatever. I'm sure I'm sure, especially in
college.
Belarus or whatever. I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do.
I was in I think the school we went to had a really good curriculum, and they had a banned books class that, which is kind of bizarre. Like it felt like it didn't feel like I'm like, well, a lot of these books shouldn't be banned. Like you're just getting an overall history of why books are banned, which was a great class for that, and it was just a great class where we just openly discussed. Like we just did a lot of great like round tables on films and books, and we had a really good teacher. But that's what we did with I mean, we didn't see this one specifically, but we watched like we read like a lot of anti-war books, and I think we watched Apocalypse Now, which I would put in the same kind of category. This movie, I think this movie overtakes a lot of it, the anti-war and the surrealism. I think a lot of it just is done better because even in the light of day, like a lot of the most captivating scenes I feel like in Apocalypse Now are so dark that I'm like, this one just does all of that stuff better. It made me feel like I did back then though. Like seeing that stuff, I just felt like I was a lot more innocent to a lot of, like I'd learned a lot of the history about this stuff, but I hadn't seen it and read a lot more accounts of it. Not that I do that a lot. Like I just start sweating. Jesus. But I was more ignorant back then. And I've jumped into a lot of this stuff kind of head first just to see, and it's like I've regretted a lot of that too, to where it's like you watch a movie like this and you're like, I really took a hit there emotionally for a while. Like I was pretty shaken. Which, I mean, dude, if you got to watch like a condensed version and just fast forward a little bit and that helps you, because the droning, there's so much of this movie I wish I could have seen in a more, like, I just watched this off YouTube, which, I mean, it was great. There was no problems with it. There was no ads.
it was great.
Oh yeah.
But I wish I would have done it more justice with more like a theatrical setup with the audio, because I really don't want to watch this movie again, but I wish those audio cues and having a full picture, and I wish I would have taken more time to do that stuff. But
I'll say
I don't know. Go ahead.
I paid a lot more attention to this movie than I do to other movies, just because I couldn't look at my phone because it wasn't in English. So I had to pay attention.
gotta
Yeah,
pay attention.
definitely.
Very true.
Yeah.
Imagine watching this movie on like Tubi, and it's like they kill the cow, and then it's like Whopper, 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 Whopper.
That's how we make jokes. We gotta pull you out of the movie and throw you
Yeah.
into something else.
I knew I wanted
It's-
to kind of try and like during our reviews, like I'm like, I hope there's some jokes to be told, and I want
Yeah.
to try and get that in, but it's like I knew this would kind of be a like whatever we're up to, and it's still gonna be like that. It's like we're just gonna do our best to get through our explanation of this movie, but I was like, we're gonna try and be a little bit funny, and even though it is a fucking bummer.
Well, speaking of jokes, I just have a question. So when I was doing my review, I noticed that I didn't get a laugh in that dragging your balls through the glass part. Just what didn't work about that for you guys? I'm looking for notes here just for future reference.
I don't have balls.
Oh,
But-
okay.
And
'Cause I just like there was a little bit of a silence after I paused a little bit, like waiting for chuckles. There wasn't any there, which I'm completely fine with. I'm just looking for specifically what didn't work about that joke.
Everybody's
okay.
dying, bitch.
Just imagined a pile of bodies instead of glass, and I was like, this is gross. I don't want to be here.
All right. Well, cool.
Do better.
It was a
Ooh, I feel like we should have some Warner Herzog drops, like some really depressing shit. Some really depressive.
penguin. Oh, that was French. Sorry.
That's okay.
That's all right. I'm sure there's a
They're close.
version of him that's French, like it's just an existential Frenchman. Oh, it's like
Okay.
Camus, or what? That philosopher guy.
God, I'm
Hell,
4
there's
beers
other
in and we
people.
haven't even
Albert
started the
Camus.
walkthrough yet.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's
Whatever.
get in spoilers.
Wait, are you gonna do a spook factor?
Oh, you're right. Okay. Spook, no. Horrifying 10. That's like it's not spooky. If we're talking about horror, as in like, yeah, it's a different kind of horror.
Yeah.
It's not going to give me nightmares, but it is going to affect my waking mind more
Yeah.
than my, So yeah, I it's hard. It's a hard one to gauge. I don't know how to gauge it.
Yeah.
Depressing 10, horrifying 10, spooky
But slept like a
0.
baby afterwards.
I kind of did, but
Mhm.
it,
It's
You were
only
not-
because his
tired from
balls
watching.
were completely empty of ejaculate.
Yeah.
Only because I came and I'm safe in America.
Yeah.
Came and I saw.
Add an eagle screech.
balls are great.
Okay. I'm gonna wrap now.
Every week we should do a freestyle.
Everything!
It's time. Fucking sad. It's not because this movie was bad. It's only because I'm thinking about killing myself. And spoilers. I lost it. Spoilers.
Good. It was a good
Let's
inaugural
get done.
episode.
Man, you know what this movie makes me think of is it feels like I'm just putting my balls on a table with like shards of glass.
Wow, what a good joke!
Fucking hilarious, dude.
That's so
And then
funny.
my parents are there, my dad's alive all of a sudden, but like all he wants to do is hear about my porn preferences.
And I oblige him.
And I tell him homegrown Simpson stuff, Dad.
You know me, Pops.
Pornhub, X2.
X and XX.
I know these better than I know your
Then
mom.
I know these things better than I know about the history of Belarus.
Yes.
That's for sure.
That is a factual statement for me.
Fox, bro.
But I'm just gonna I'm jumping over your head here. I'm talking about budget and box office. I can't find the budget. And I've noticed that's a trend with foreign movies. It's hard to find the budget for
Interesting.
those.
Yeah, maybe
For
they
some
don't- they
reason.
may not have to disclose that. Maybe.
Maybe.
Putin
But-
knows.
I mean, the budget was one gun filled with mud and lots of dead animals. And,
Yeah.
and
A lot of people.
A lot of people.
There were
lot of
the
people.
cast on this was huge. The amount of extras, good.
Well,
It was like
God.
a Monty Python movie, dude.
Absolutely.
There's so fucking many people.
Bravo.
But
It felt huge. Like in certain
It-
parts. I'm like, and I granted that's trick of the cameras, but good on them.
Yeah,
well done.
$21 million gross worldwide, but only 71,000 here in the U.S. So
Not
that
one happy
was-
person.
yeah, that was mainly in other territories.
Not
That's how many
easily-
people
not
it
easily
made
marketable.
miserable. You know.
Yeah. Ugh. Critical reception.
oh, I'll do critical reception.
Who knows
Cares.
about it?
It's my
high.
turn. Yeah, I mean currently it sits at 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. But even back then, in 2010, Roger Ebert put it on one of his greatest movies to ever see series. He said it depicts brutality and is occasionally very realistic with an overlay of nightmarish exaggeration. There was a really interesting discussion that's noted in the Wikipedia, but it says from an elderly German man stood up during one of the like previews of the movie and said that he was a soldier in Wehrmacht. And he traveled across Poland and Belarus, finally reaching Ukraine. I will testify everything that's told in this film is the truth. And the most frightening and shameful thing for me is that this film will be seen by my children and grandchildren. And I thought that was sad and
Oof.
Good
very
though.
interesting.
Good on 'em.
Yeah.
It's like to say
yeah.
like, and my grandkids should see this. Like,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like I don't know. It like
We
and
forgive
there-
that one.
I mean, we'll get to it later in the spoilers, but that's what I was almost worried he was gonna be like, this is bullshit. It wasn't that bad.
This didn't
That's like
happen.
when they're under the bridge and that guy's like, no, the SS, the Wehrmacht made me do this. Like it's them,
Yeah.
it's them, it's them, it's them. Like it wasn't us, it was the high command. And it's like for someone in the Wehrmacht to stand up and be like, no, like that's like the way it was. It's like
Yeah.
I typically don't like stories like that, but it's like at least it like that one it like makes sense. It's like the stuff in like I was even gonna say I'm like it's surreal, so it almost seems like an exaggeration from like a child's perspective, but it's like that's not the perspective of the camera. You're just basically a wandering photographer through a war zone, and you're doing close shots on the people there. So, that's a good story. It's cool.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying earlier, where like you think that it's all exaggerated, but then you look it up afterwards and you're like, oh no, like it seems crazy, but a lot of it actually happened.
And I also think like the lack of kind of like dramatic music in the movie,
Yeah.
it like really kind of like
It's like unnerving.
like the sounds that they use, like there's like orchestra shit, but it's always it's never used in a way to try to make you feel something any more than what you would just be seeing.
Yeah.
Like they use more like noises, like when if things are tense, there'll just be like a eerie sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're not trying to like hit those notes on a violin to make you cry. They kept it as grounded in reality as possible, and kind of just used those moments of whenever they did have music. Some of it, like there's Mozart in certain parts of it. Like
they do the
German
same
bastard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he was Austrian. German,
Oh,
Austrian.
fuck.
Yeah.
I sound like a dork.
Holy Roman German. They do the same thing with like character development, like arcs. Like they deprive, like no one has like a real like storied arc, and it's just like it's so simple of stories, but they tell the stories through like those quick like medium shots with like people like just living their lives and reacting and the transitions they make, and even like showing that through like them standing around for like community events and like taking pictures and eating together, and like stuff is, it's like when war comes to like such like simple places and like into the intimacy of your lives and into your homes, and like these, like the way they tell the stories without telling the stories is great. And it's the same way with the music. It's just enough to where it's not like nothing is too extravagant, and it shouldn't be. But you're still just like dumbfounded by what you're seeing. But it's nothing like that's, I don't know. It's just such a creeping like eeriness to it. I love it. I mean, I hated it, but it was great. Well done.
Yes. Before I get into the walkthrough, I need to throw some disclaimers down for myself as a person. I am not well versed in any of this shit. I'm going to do my best to read what the walkthrough on Wikipedia is. I don't know how to pronounce a lot of these words. And I am somebody who has a hard time remembering which one was World War I and World War II. I wasn't good at history. What was World War I, by the way? I just like maybe only because I can't even. The only World War that I know about was the Germany one. So what was World War I? What was happening then?
They were both Germany.
Yeah.
Archduke Ferdinand.
Yeah.
I love that man.
Archduke Ferdinand. He got assassinated. That's all I remember.
He was the Archduke.
Archduke.
He got assassinated and it started the war?
Yeah.
Of the Austria-Hungarian Empire.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all I remember.
See,
and that
I just
kicked off a bunch of stuff in the Balkans, and then a bunch of treaties kick in. Blah blah blah. Tinderbox.
Okay.
Indie pop band was started.
my
France and Germany, and they.
My point is, I don't know this shit, so I'm gonna get shit wrong. I'm gonna say things wrong. I'm sorry. That's, but I'm gonna try my best and ask for pronunciations when I need them.
Yep.
But we'll get into the plot here. In 1943, two Belarusian. That's how you pronounce that?
Mm-hmm.
Looks right to me. Okay, boys dig in a sand-filled trench looking for abandoned rifles in order to join the Soviet partisan forces. Their village elder warns them not to dig up the weapons as it would arouse the suspicion of the occupying Germans. One of the boys, Flora, finds an SVT-40 rifle. The boys' activities are noticed by an FW-189 reconnaissance aircraft flying overhead. Feels like such a long scene for that sort of a sentence.
And I think that's kind of a jump to say that it's kind of assuming that the boys' activities are noticed by that. Like, we don't see that. It's not like there's a shot of inside the reconnaissance aircraft where it's like, I guess there is that shot of them looking down.
Yeah,
so I guess
it's flying overhead.
Yeah,
and they see all the holes and stuff, and they're like, them digging in the sand. So
yeah, that's true. I guess.
I mean, I've always heard, like, that's like the biggest excuse for, like, pro-gun versus anti-gun people. Like, well, the first thing Hitler did was he disarmed his citizens. That's kind of what everyone says, and I'm assuming that's true, right? Like, he was like, we don't want anybody to have guns, so like they're making a conscious effort to make sure that their adversaries have as little weapons as possible.
Yeah, good point. There's like it's like oh my gosh, my brain. There was so much going on, I just forgot. Um.
That's
Oh,
okay.
I was gonna say in targeted areas, you're making sure your resistance forces are like cut off from weapons. So those reconnaissance aircrafts are picking up whether people are arming themselves or, you know. I just forgot
Right.
about the scene where they directly saw him. I kept remembering the scene where, because later on it's touched on, where the same aircraft is flying over, like it's a constant theme of the movie, him looking up to the sky and like it getting worse and worse. And but I forgot there was the scene where you directly see him and the kid next to each other, Flora with rifle in his hand.
Right.
Yeah.
How do they? Were they using like telescopes? Like how do they see, or like what's the? I mean, I guess I don't know.
I don't know
This might
about
not be something
about
everybody knows.
aircraft enough.
Yeah.
So I assume they have some sort of optics. I mean, honestly, World War One, which was, 30 years prior to this, like aircraft was just starting really to be used in warfare. So it's like, I mean, there was leaps and bounds, but I imagine it was still pretty. I mean, they might have been using something like a handheld optic just to see. I mean, imagine they were in like a lay down cabin where someone had like, some sort of.
What I'm seeing here on the Wikipedia is this plane is a German twin-engine, twin-boom, 3-seat tactical reconnaissance and army cooperation aircraft. So it's specifically for reconnaissance. That's what it wasn't like a transporting or whatever. Like I think it's a spy plane. It's meant to look and see what the fuck's going on. So that's why they keep showing it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So the next day, two partisans arrive at Flora's house to conscript him. Flora becomes a low-rank militiaman and is ordered to perform menial tasks. When the partisans are ready to move on, the commander, Cossack, is that how you pronounce that? Cossack? Cossack? I think it's Cossack. Says that Flora is to remain at the camp. Bitterly disappointed, Flora walks into the forest weeping and meets Glasha, a girl working as a nurse for the partisans, and the two bond before the camp is suddenly attacked by German paratroopers and dive bombers. There is a scene where Flora is at home with his mother and his two younger sisters. They're begging him not to go, but he's like, everyone's joining the resistance. I have to go join it. I can't be the only one who doesn't. I missed, why was he bleeding? I must have been looking away or something like that. Like when he gets put into the cart and kind of like taken to the camp, he was like, his nose was bleeding. Does anybody remember?
I remember his nose bleeding, but I don't remember why.
I thought his mom hit him.
His mom hit him? That's what. Okay.
Does this say? Do we know how old he is?
I don't.
I'm assuming like 12 or 13.
Something like
I don't know, but
Young.
Quick Google search can figure this out.
Yeah.
Probably like 14.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna guess 14.
Yeah.
14.
He's young young looking though.
Yeah.
Young looking,
Yes.
but like definitely had an interest in females.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So 14.
Not 11.
Which, I mean, think about a 14-year-old kid going to war.
Oh my gosh.
Crazy.
And
That's fucking
when
insane.
you're young looking, like an innocent looking, it's like, oh my gosh.
I mean,
and to focus on the portraits, like his portrait throughout is such a through theme in this movie that's like to watch someone who's just like, dude, you're too fucking, you should be playing, man. You should be like in a band doing dumb videos with your friends. Like
it reminds me of like the scene in Lord of the Rings with when they're like defending Helm's Deep and like they're putting like armor on like the little kids and shit, and it's like there's like this like music overtone happening that's like supposed to make it seem like this is fucking sad as shit. This little kid's about to go fight these orcs, but then when you think about fuck that shit because that's fantasy and this is shit that happened in fucking
Yeah.
real life to children.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it
Have your home.
definitely.
And you were
Yeah.
already in like a bad, like poor, like run over situation being in Belarus at the time. Like
Yeah.
they had such a bad hand dealt to them. And it's just like,
Mhm.
even like that whole Eastern bloc, like Ukraine, Belarus, Poland, like the amount of people who died not from violence, but just from starvation and
Yeah.
like mismanagement of so many things and just war in general, like the hidden cost of all like that war burns through is just, and it's like they had already experienced that, and it's like to get that hand dealt to you and then just be like, oh, this just got like 1,000 times worse, and you're like, and you have to march through it, and you know,
Isn't that why like these people in Belarus were being like killed, was because they were viewed as like almost lesser than?
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that was kind of the
That's the whole
whole
thing. That's the
that
thing.
was the whole German thing.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I just, I mean, I'm ashamed to admit it. I didn't know that Russia was part of that. Like
Mhm.
you hear so much about Poland and like the Jewish community and stuff, and I just never paid attention in school enough to know that this was even a thing that happened. So that's another reason why I'm glad to have watched it,
Yeah.
to educate
absolutely.
myself on the how vast the atrocities actually were.
Yeah.
Well, didn't Russia switch sides halfway through the war? Jake?
We're not going to talk about that. I don't know.
God.
Pretty sure they did.
Yeah, essentially it was,
I think they basically came to what I did read about. I was reading about it, and there was kind of like a ceasefire between them two specifically. It was more of a treaty than a switch side.
Oh, okay. Well, they remained neutral, is what Google tells
Yes.
me, until 1941, and
Yeah.
then they attacked the Nazis, attacked the Soviet Union, and then they like, hey, let's fight these bastards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there was an invasion from the Nazis. And then there was a counteroffensive by the Soviets.
And they kicked their asses.
Yeah,
Like,
all the way.
that's-
Yeah, all the way back.
That's
Like,
when the treaty. That's what I'm saying. That
and
the treaty was signed after they kicked their asses. Like they I think they had like something like 250,000 German soldiers went down to like 80,000 or something. Like like they got their fucking asses handed to them, and then they surrendered, and there was just basically like hey, we're not gonna fuck with each other anymore. Like type, and like that was the end of that. That's at least what I read. If there's a history buff out there, there's way more to it than that. I get it. I'm just saying, like that's what I read on Google. So
Absolutely. And I feel like there's so much history there. It's just like it's mind-boggling to like just to see the scope of it and try and figure it all out is like, oh my goodness.
Right.
And to have it ready on the ready to be like, hey, this is what happened. I'm like, I don't remember.
Right.
I gotta look it up. I lose that shit instantly. But
so I want to talk about Glasha real quick. Do we have any theories about like why she was like off? Like why she was like so like there was something off about her, right? Like almost like she'd already seen shit.
Well, like she had this boyfriend and he fought crime, and then after they broke up, then his
Trying to do the Spider-Man jokes. That's a horrible way to describe Spider-Man. He fights crime.
Wait, why Spider-Man?
Kirsten Dunst.
Oh God. Okay. I was so lost. If I would have remembered the Kirsten Dunst, it definitely would have hit harder. I'm so sorry.
Jake knows what I'm trying to
Um,
say. He understands my jokes. He doesn't laugh,
but
but that's
But
okay.
I understand.
you know, there was one time that I smiled, I think, in this entire movie. And it was when Flora was approaching Glasha. She was crying, he was crying, and she started laughing, and he decided to just like keep the joke going. He had previously kind of like walked through like a swamp, so his boots were filled with water. And he takes one of his boots and he like cries into it and then dumps all the water out of the boot. And like that I was like, and that was the
That would cheer
last
you up if you were crying.
that was the last joy I felt in that movie.
I
Yep.
feel like when I watched it the first time, because I feel like we all watched this in chunks, and I made the mistake of I wanted to watch it one time through, but I was too tired, and that's pretty much
Mhm.
where I stopped. Like I feel like it was
Okay.
right kind of before
Yeah.
/ during the first like air raid, which we're gonna
Yeah.
get to. But I remember thinking the same thing. I'm like, this is actually kind of like funny. Like this
Yeah.
is like not that like I kind of knew it was gonna get messed up, but I'm like, oh, this is kind of like sweetly funny and like it's quirky how they're doing the camera right now. And I think
Mhm.
Emily mentioned like in her review, like she didn't like I didn't almost get that at first. Like when I fell
yeah.
asleep and hadn't watched it the whole thing, I was like, well, this is kind of be goofy. And then it was
Yeah.
like, well, no, it just held on to that like completely out of this like world surreal like
Yeah.
look to it, but it like you were like I said, you were bought in by the time it got to the stuff that started to get really nuts.
Yeah. No, at this point in the movie, I googled the movie because before that I had no idea what I was about to watch, and I looked it up and I was like, oh, okay, something happens.
Yeah.
Like I
Mhm.
was like,
Yeah.
what the fuck is this? What are these kids? This is like this is this scary? I forgot that we were even watching it for
Yeah.
this.
Mhm.
And I was like,
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. She seemed like eccentric to the point of like where it almost like she's aged beyond her years because of maybe something she's seen already. That's kind of the impression that I got from her is that she had kind of
I think she was German too.
yeah,
Wasn't it
Oh, was she?
mentioned she
yeah,
was German? So I
Okay.
imagine
I
like
didn't know.
she's kind of way out. I don't know. Like that's the thing. They deprive everyone of arc, so you're just left guessing. Like, which I like, but I'm
it's
like,
like real
oh,
life.
anything. I don't because there were certain times where, uh, I was like, just if we don't have a nailed down guess on her age, or if it's not like actually stated her age, I'm like, I just don't know. There's times where I'm like, she does seem like older than like someone who's seen like crazy stuff, but also she does seem super young. Like they both do. So it's like
Mhm.
I like that. I'm just like I don't know, but you know, and the fact that she's German or not, or I'm having even trouble remembering. It's such a long movie, and I didn't want to watch it again. I have to rely on the 1.5 times I saw this. But yeah, I like that there's that. I'm like, well, I don't know. There was something intriguing about her though, but I'm like, there's something intriguing around every corner of this movie because there's so little to go on, but there's so much to go on.
Yeah.
I'm saying nonsense.
So So Flora is partially deafened from the explosions before the two hide in the forest and avoid the German soldiers. Flora and Glasha travel to his village only to find his home deserted and covered in flies. The paragraph keeps going, but I'm going to stop here. This scene was I for some reason I did like they there's like he goes into his house and he's looking for his family and his sisters, and there's like food left on the table and there's flies everywhere, and you think, oh, the flies are there because the food was left out, but there are so many fucking flies.
Mhm.
Like you can't stop swatting at them. It's like they're big. You just keep swatting at flies or whatever. And
It's like
Uh,
it's the main thing you hear after his ears stop ringing.
Yeah,
Like
it's
as soon as
buzzing.
his ears stops ringing, like you get the flies.
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah,
oh great.
yeah. It's in the
Perfect.
background the entire time. It's
Yep.
just buzzing, 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 buzzing.
They're also still like weirdly delusional through the whole scene. They're like laughing about different things, and then
Mhm.
like the minute they just like see the family, that delusion like goes away all of a sudden. I feel like.
This was the most
yeah.
horrifying part of the movie for me because there was this surreal moment of like it just seems like an empty village. Like there's no one around.
Mm.
But there's no bodies anywhere that you can see at first, whatever. And there's no you can't see blood or any there not even really signs of a struggle in his own house or whatever. And like you're kind of something bad happened, obviously, but like you're kind of just waiting to see what it is. And they start running. He's denying his family is dead, and he thinks they're hiding in a nearby island across a bog. And as they run in that direction, Glasha glances backwards across her shoulder to seeing a pile of executed villagers' bodies stacked behind a house. It's done so casually, like her look like it's just like on the move. Like the camera is running, like as you see it. Like it's
Yeah.
like it's from her perspective as she's running and looking back, and you just see like, oh, that's where they all are. It's an entire village of people piled up behind a house with that's where the flies are coming from.
Yeah.
And when that hits you, it's like it's this sinking feeling in your heart. And like that's where you I don't know, to me, like that's where it start like that was the most horrifying part of the movie for me personally.
And again, you don't see a scene where the mother and the children are killed. It's just it deprives it's a clump of bodies. It's like you don't even
Yeah.
get closure as far as like a dramatic scene, or that's not what this is. If that's what you're looking for, move on.
There's no exploitative gore
Yeah.
or whatever. It doesn't half the horrible things that happen, more than half, you don't see it
Yeah.
happen. It's implied.
Yeah.
But the implication is enough
Mm.
to drive it home how horrifying all this is.
Yeah, and again,
she doesn't tell him.
Oh yeah.
She doesn't.
no, go
tell
ahead.
him?
I was gonna say the
Not yet.
the follow scenes in this are really good too. As the movie progresses, the way they set up how you follow certain characters, it's kind of done in the opposite way of like the portrait, just like close shot of characters are. It's them running or doing like an action, like following in line in a group of people, or later like running with a cow, or whatever it is. The way they consistently do those follow scenes are really cool.
Yeah. Well, so I was saying she doesn't tell him right when she sees the bodies. That he doesn't notice it. He keeps running forward, and she's the only one who sees it. And they keep running. She doesn't tell him right away because she's in such distress.
Yeah. I didn't realize that he hadn't seen them.
No, he didn't see him.
Yep.
Because he ran right past the house, and they were all behind the house, and she looked back, and that's how she saw it. But
Yeah.
so
I mean,
you can tell he knows. Like he's holding on to like hope, but he knows. He knows something's, but he's like, having trouble accepting it, I guess. And
it wouldn't
So
have done
the-
anything for him to look. I think it's just like it would have stopped him from going into the bog, and he's just like, it's better for me to go into the bog.
Yeah.
Right. So the two become hysterical after wading through this bog, where Glasha then screams at Flora that his family is actually dead in the village, resulting in him, it says attempting to drown her, but he kind of just
He's
pushes her in there. I
pokes
don't think he
her,
attempted to drown her.
Pushes her down. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he goes in to save her. So this is written wrong, but he didn't attempt to drown her. They are soon met by Rubez, a partisan fighter, who then takes them to a large group of villagers who have fled the Germans. Flora sees the village elder badly burnt by the Germans, who tells him that he witnessed his family's execution and that he should not have dug up the rifles. Flora, hearing this, attempts suicide out of guilt, but Klasha and the villagers save and comfort him. So there's this dude who's like burnt to a crisp.
Yeah, it's his uncle.
That's his uncle?
I believe
Okay.
so.
I feel like it
he-
was just like a guy in their village.
It just says the village elder, but
I believe
it
he's
could
the
have been.
village elder, and I think it's his uncle. I don't know. I watched a few YouTube videos on this film, so
Oh, okay.
I
I was
Oh,
gonna say I think the only reference to uncle I know is like later when he like Rubez or whatever his name is like he's calling him Uncle Rubez or whatever.
Oh, well, he's like all burnt, and he said that they had poured petrol on him and lit him, and he was begging them to kill him, and they laughed at him and wouldn't kill him, and that the reason why they came to this village was because they saw them digging up the rifles, and so he's feeling all this guilt, and he like freaking ostrich style shoves his face in a puddle of mud, trying to kill himself, and they stop him. Oh god, it's
I feel like it was kind of before its time the way they had that scene, like him backing up and like his mouth like all like closed up and like weird. Like I feel like that was one of the more upfront, surreal, like that actually didn't happen.
I don't know how they did it, but as every scene progresses, it looks more and more like he's been stung by a bee and he's allergic. Like his face is just getting fucked up.
I think that's what Jake
It-
said about like him just looking like he's aging with like gray hair and
Mhm.
wrinkles throughout the whole movie too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's whew,
Yeah.
it's rough. I'm gonna take a quick break, take a piss. Anybody needs
Mhm.
Fuck you, Ryan.
I'm so sorry.
Dude, don't go pee. Fucking go.
Piss
on the
for me,
ground.
brother.
Piss on the ground.
Piss on the nozo.
Bring us
Take a
with
shit on the
you.
floor.
Show us your stream.
Yeah, why can't we
Stream
come?
with us.
A stream, but it's just everybody streams, and you have to pick whose stream is who. You have to match it.
Our streamer of the week.
I'm sorry. Oh,
I'm sorry. Fucking fat ass.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
I'm sorry.
Machine wash cold.
Machina. There's like a scratch on my computer.
On the screen?
I think Bug scratched my computer.
Did she? Killer. She's a shit.
I love when a Wikipedia article has gang raped in it. As a hyperlink.
Yeah, it's a hyperlink
Gang
too.
rape.
Gang rape.
It is. Right next to Molotov cocktails. Ooh. Fugue State. Fugue State, Molotov cocktails, gang raped. You're in for a good time.
Trifecta.
Next to a picture of baby Hitler. What are we looking at? I bit my lip. Isn't that like weird?
Oh, you bit your lip.
It just feels
Huh?
You should kill yourself.
Me?
I hate biting my lip.
I kind of want to eat like a salty fry though, and just
Just burn it out. Yeah, yeah.
Oh my god.
Numb it.
Maybe drag my balls through.
Dude, funny joke, dude.
I definitely thought that was gonna get at least a chuckle.
Call back. Topical.
Tropical.
Topical.
All right, so let's get past.
Let's fucking
Okay, we got this. Are we waiting for
forward.
Emily?
No,
Christian soldiers.
we're good.
Okay. So Rubez takes Flora and two other men to find food at a nearby warehouse, only to find it being guarded by German troops. During the retreat, the group unknowingly wanders through a minefield, resulting in the deaths of two companions. That evening, Rubez and Flora sneak up to an occupied village and manage to steal a cow from a collaborating farmer. As they escape across an open field, Rubens and the cow are shot and killed by a German machine gun.
Yeah.
The next morning, Flora attempts to steal a horse and cart, but the owner catches him, and instead of doing him harm, he helps hide Flora's identity when SS troops approach.
Yeah. When I saw that cow get shot, I was like, they fucking shot that cow. That was a real ass shit. Like, they really shot that cow. And I looked
You think?
I looked it up, and they're like, yeah, we shot that cow. Like, it looked way too realistic because it just it gets shot and just its back legs like shoot up like it like stood on something hot, and then it just walks forward like 4 feet and then drops down and then rolls over, and then
Insane.
and then they show the eye, and I'm like, that's a dead fucking cow eye.
And the
Like,
fucking sounds, dude.
Yeah,
Oh my god.
I was like, that's real.
Holy shit.
Which they might have juiced the sounds, but I was like, dude,
I don't know, man. It's pretty.
We skipped
scary.
over the Hitler effigy too, and I
Oh,
feel
yeah.
like that was a great part.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I
that
loved
was
the Hitler effigy. That was another lighthearted, and I'm glad they kept that like lightness to it because you kind of need that touchdown for later. But it also fucks you because you're like, these are fucking humans. They're funny.
Yeah, silly, goofy guys. Having a good time.
Oh
yeah, I screenshotted that for the episode art. I might do something with that.
Talk about the Hitler effigy. What happened in that?
Oh, well, they just they had, which was freaky. It was almost like it reminded me of like a Steven Spielberg, Indiana Jones, like the Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
The way it was shot, like there was a skull on like a pike. It was in the village scene. This is a scene where they must have had a ton of extras too, like a ton of babushkas and townsfolk, older men, farmers, and they're all in the mud, shoeless, and they have like a German soldiers, like a SS uniform, and they have a skull on a pike, and they get some clay and they start working the skull, and you don't know what it is at first, and then finally it starts to take shape as a Hitler, and they bring that with them when they go to raid the warehouse or the storehouse, like the food store.
Yeah. He's just carrying it with him as they're getting shot at.
Yeah, like it's one of their they're getting like lit up, just trying to get to the tree line to escape, and like they're treating it like it's someone like they absolutely like mission imperative, gotta get this thing to the crossroads, so they can stick it to old Adolf. And that's why again they're a funny group of guys. One of the guys who dies when they go through the landmine field he's like cracking jokes. He's like, talking about the last guys he was with doing this or that and the other thing. So those were like emotional, funny touchstones you get with these like characters. I've been talking about them depriving characters of arc a lot, and they do for the most part, but there are communal arcs you get with like groups of people. Some are small, like 2 people like Glasha and Flora. You get like mini stories with, I mean, that's just how movies work, but it's kept really brief and light with these things, but you get these like emotional touchstones that pay off in the end.
I mean, one of the parts that like was kind of heavy that I have been thinking about every day since watching this is him picking up his friend's foot and throwing it back into the little
in the
pit
hole
with him.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It was upsetting.
After the mine.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh shit. Yeah.
On a lighter note, I forgot to mention this because it was just kind of a funny when Flora first joined up with like the group of the resistance when they were taking the group picture, and the one dude, like the photographer, had a Hitler mustache on.
Yeah.
And it was nice to see them like busting Hitler's balls,
Absolutely.
It's like, we're having a good time.
Even his short pants.
Man, but so yeah, Flora.
You can see why Flora like wants to be a part of this group. It's like a larger community that it's the same reason he gets back into formation. Spoilers at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And I mean, I mean, it's what else can you do? But B, it's like, you know, the people. I guess I don't know. The people you're around are just like people. I mean, is that what the Nazis are thinking, man? When they're blowing up the church?
I mean, they're
like,
having a great time.
Hey, these are just my guys. But it's like,
Yes.
that's so fucked.
Yes, they're just cracking jokes and doing shit the same way we all fucking would, except for they just have a fucked up like motive and
that's so
I don't we'll get to that part, but that was like one of the
Gypsy. All I want from you is your tears.
yeah.
Yeah.
So after he's captured by the SS troops, he's taken to the village of Perkedy, or Perekhody.
I had trouble with this one. It's like you're just reading it and hearing them say it in their language, and you're just like, okay.
Yeah,
I'm
just gonna say it like Perkedy.
Yeah, this is the next town.
Where they hurriedly discuss a fake identity for him while an SS, Jesus Christ, Eisenkommando unit, accompanied by collaborators from the Russian Liberation Army and fucking Schutzmannschaft Battalion 118. A lot of real
German words.
Real German shit that I don't know how to pronounce. They surround and occupy the village. Flora tries to warn the townsfolk as they are being herded to their deaths, but is forced to join them inside a barn church. Flora and a young woman are allowed to escape the church, but the latter is dragged by her hair into a truck to be violated. And Flora is forced to watch as several Molotov cocktails and grenades are thrown onto and within the church before it is further set ablaze with a flamethrower. As other soldiers shoot into the building, German officer points a gun at Flora's head to pose for a picture before leaving him to slump to the ground as the soldiers leave. The fucked up part about all this shit is not just the fact that they were doing it, it's them laughing and joking and drinking, and it's the enjoyment that they were having with it.
Yeah.
Again, so many extras.
And the fact that you said that German soldier in the theater stood up and said this is how it happened.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
it's so fucked up.
Yeah. Like they were just laughing because they are doing this. I mean, how many they said, I guess it's skipping ahead, but the next card after this scene says that this happened to over 600 towns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
So like
600.
628.
That's 628. Like
628 villages were ransacked the way this one was.
That's
and
so many people, so many towns.
Even if you say there's a 20 people in each, that's still a fuck ton of horrible actions, and it immediately wipes out the we're just following orders narrative, seeing them enjoy it the way they were.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we can all agree, like, hey, Nazis.
Yeah.
Not one good idea.
You have no good ideas.
Not one.
No. I just like that's the part that's like fucks me up about the whole thing is the sheer joy. Like it's like they're playing around a disc golf. You know, it's like
I think there is something to like a war lust that's just like it's like a contagion, like to where it is like, and I mean obviously there's themes of that in this movie. It's literally called Come and See. It's from the Bible.
Yeah.
Like Revelation 6 and the ride of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse or whatever. It's like the first one is war, and it's like that's what you're seeing. It's like that just it like tramples over like civilization. And
it's what happens when you don't view a group of people as people.
Yeah.
I believe they originally wanted to title this "Kill Hitler," but they said that that would not be tasteful, so they changed it.
Yeah.
It took it took 7 years to get this movie out through the Russian censors.
Oh
To-
yeah.
its entirety.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like I just scrolled to the top and it says based on 70.
which why would they want to censor it?
I think that it was just such a brutal movie that like having to go
Oh.
through the brutality of, even
And
though
they-
there's really nothing, like I mean the actions are grotesque, but it's not like there's no titties or anything.
I think for like the Soviets to want to release any information, like to have like I think it was during kind of the time of like the Iron Curtain, like to where they were more of like an in oh god I can't even think of the words for it, like closed, like a closed society essentially, like to where they didn't want any information in or out. Like if you're not going to fix what's happening in Belarus, which the Soviets weren't, they're not going to be like, here's more information about all the shit we can't fix. So it's like if you're not helping those people, and a lot of times you're actively hurting them, continuing into the Soviet era, it's like, you know, they're just like, we'll just close off communications. So I think that was. I mean, that might be. I'm pretty ignorant on the subject, but that's what I would throw my dart at.
Yeah. There was the fucked up part where they take an old woman in her bed out on like a top of a hill. And they let her live, and they're like, here, we'll let you live so you can keep making offspring, keep making children. And she's like 80.
Just cozy, just smiling.
And that was their big thing, is that they cared more about the children.
She's just
killing.
She was just looking at the barn, just like, let me in.
We're just scratching for jokes here. Like
going for it.
Like, come on, something funny.
Yeah, that scene. I mean, just you can leave if you leave your kids.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like that, because they were more concerned about, like, they're like, we don't want you making any more of you. So like, if you're, you know, if you're like an old woman, we don't care about you. You can't continue to you know, procreate.
I mean,
did you see they threw the kid through the window?
Yes.
That was so funny.
Oh my god!
That was when the kid crawled out and they threw him back in.
He did like flop in a.
Wilhelm scream.
I really hope. I'm just like I immediately was just, I'm like, there's a crash pad in there, and he had a great time. But a lot, like when that same kid, when like kind of like everyone was fighting over him, like when they were like picking him up and like kind of like almost like tearing his fucking limbs apart. I'm like, that's gotta be traumatic, even shooting that.
It's like the cow
for a child.
Oh,
They're not gonna understand. They'll be the cow's dead.
No, that kid might be dead. That was the 80s.
That's true.
Could have got.
Oh, let's keep going here.
Yeah.
Flora later wanders out of the Scorched Village in the direction of the Germans, where he discovers they had been ambushed by the partisans. After recovering his jacket and rifle, Flora comes across the girl who was dragged off by the SS soldiers in a dissociative state, her inner legs and face covered in blood after having been brutally gang raped by the soldiers. Flora returns to the village and finds that his fellow partisans have captured 11 of the Germans and their collaborators, including the commander, an SS Sturmenführer.
It gives a
While
shit.
some of
Sounds
yeah,
like a
who gives a
real
shit?
loser. Sounds like a
Fucking
real edge
asshole.
lord.
Well, some of the captured men, including the commander and main collaborator, plead for their lives and deflect blame. A young, fanatical officer is unapologetic and vows they will carry out their genocidal mission. Uh, the woman was a lot.
Yeah.
That was a lot
That was
to see.
that was the worst for me.
Oh,
The-
yeah.
The whistle scene?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that what you guys are talking about?
yeah. The whistle, the waddling with the blood. It was
Yeah.
realistic and heartbreaking,
Mm.
and
And again, the sound. It's just
I
I
know,
feel
it
like
was
there
a-
was so much droning before that the whistle just cuts through. And then
Yeah.
the scene after that with their like side by side like close ups. Oh,
Because the whistle is
Mhm.
obviously it's the same tune as like heavy breathing, and
Yeah.
that just feels
Mhm.
so desperate and
Yep.
awful.
Yeah,
yeah.
dissonant like Jaws.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say, all 11 of these people that they have captured are equally to blame. At least the one stands by his convictions, while the rest of them try to shift blame on each other and say that they're innocent.
Yeah.
If you're a piece of shit, own it, at least, and the one guy says like, no, I believe in this, like I'm not going to say I'm only following orders or this came down from whatever. He's like, no, he believed in it, which he's a piece of shit as well as the other ones, but at least he doesn't have cowardice on his fucking resume.
Hmm.
As the other guys were all just saying like, oh, like it was them, like I wouldn't hurt a fly, it was them. It's like, fuck you, like you are all equally to blame here, all of you.
Yep.
There's no I was just following orders. That it doesn't.
It's
I don't care what
woozy, it's
orders you get.
wazzy.
You know this is wrong, or
Yeah.
or you should have known. And now that your life is in jeopardy, now you're like, oh, this is wrong, whatever. I think if am I mistaken with when the church was being burned? I think there was one German soldier that was puking.
Well, he was probably just drunk. He was probably just shit faced.
Oh,
Too
maybe.
much schnapps.
The thing is
I mean-
that it's the soldier that they showed the soldier that's like in the end stood by his convictions. I
Mhm.
feel like in the beginning or like when it was happening, he was just sitting there quietly, and I thought that he was somebody who didn't agree with it. And then
He was the one that said, if you leave your
Oh.
children,
Oh yeah,
Oh,
you
never
can,
mind.
yeah, like if you leave your children, you can come out.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
because they pointed him
Um,
out. They're like, that guy's the fascist. And you're like,
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
fucking that guy right there, whatever. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Which he's equally like. Don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying he's a good guy.
No.
But
No,
I-
no. Yeah.
Oh, he's the
all
Lord.
I'm saying is I cannot stand the groveling and the like trying to like pass blame when like you clearly deserve to die.
It's much more pathetic. That's for sure.
Yes, exactly. And it's like at least the dude was like, "No, I fucking believe in this shit." And they're like, "Okay, well, you're gonna die." As they're all gonna die. All of
Okay,
them did.
scumbag.
Yeah.
They were all shot to death. But what I was getting at though with the guy with puking, I have to believe that there had to have been some that were uncomfortable with the whole situation. German soldiers that were like, "This is wrong."
I'm a little uncomfortable with this, to be honest.
Had to have been
I hope my flamethrower jams.
Do we
Like, when
feel
you think
this
about,
might be
like,
problematic, do you think?
250,000
the
soldiers.
baddies?
Are we?
Do not fear me, Gypsy. All I want from you is your tears.
That's
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, there had to have been some like a group of friends at like late night in a camp. Like, there's three of them. They're like, "Hey, like, do you think like we're the bad guys?"
I think Hitler is kind of like
I don't
a
know.
bad guy.
I mean,
Seems like kind of a dick. I don't know. I might be.
Or did they
into-
weed them out? Or did they only enlist people who were like,
well,
"For
I
the
mean,
cause"?
I feel like a lot of this stuff. I mean, it's a lot of people want to feel superior in whatever way. So if you have a world leader that's telling you and all the people around you are superior,
Yeah.
a lot of people are going to get high on that supply.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose there may have been a few with the conscience, but didn't sound like there was a lot of them.
Also,
The
there's
few,
becoming
the
jaded.
brave, the Marines.
The stove.
There's like
Very.
people become jaded after doing it so many times. So it just seems like
Yeah.
business as usual.
Yeah, I mean, I used to be disgusted by blowjob videos, and after
You just keep at it a little bit.
they just keep coming because you can't find a porn without them. Because
You
there's
just
no way to say none of this thing. If you
They're
say
like-
no blowjob porn, you're gonna get only blowjob porn.
it's also like half the video. Like, why is it so long?
You have to think that Sisyphus
Too long.
was happy with his.
So after you
blowjob.
see enough of it, you're kind of just like, I could get down with some blowjobs. You know, it takes hold. So yeah, I guess
You
I
know
can see
what?
that line of thinking.
I like blowjobs now. I'm a changed man.
I shall offer you
Oh.
petrol payment.
So Cossack makes the collaborator douse the Germans with a can of petrol brought there by Flora as a runner approaches bearing a torch lit from the burning village. But the disgusted crowd shoots them all before they can be set on fire. As the partisans leave, Flora notices a framed portrait of Adolf Hitler in a puddle and proceeds to shoot it numerous times. As he does so, a montage of clips from Hitler's life play in reverse. But when Hitler is shown as a baby on his mother's lap, Flora stops shooting and cries. A title card informs 628 Belarusian villages were destroyed along with all their inhabitants. Flora rushes to rejoin his comrades, and they march through the birchwoods as the snow blankets the ground. And that's it. That's the movie.
Don't you feel better?
Credits.
I don't.
roll.
I don't feel better, but I do feel like this is one of the more important movies I've ever watched in my life.
Yeah.
It's a very moving end, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm
Uh-huh.
also a sucker for a montage, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
give me
didn't-
montage.
I didn't like the backwards Hitler montage at first. I think it's because I think it would be better. I think I want to almost see it as like a credits, but there's a scene after it, which I guess I could think of like as a post credits. But I don't know. This is the scene I was mentioning that on its face I didn't like. I don't like footage in a film, especially a movie like this. It
Yeah.
took me out of that, just seeing like footage play, even cut in with him shooting it like he's seeing it. It just took me out
I
of
didn't
it.
like that part. I didn't
Yeah.
like him shooting, like, and then like
Yeah.
going back to the montage. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and I think
I saw it.
yeah, go ahead.
I saw it as like the devastation of realizing that this monster that's caused all of these horrible things was a baby
Yeah,
at one point.
absolutely.
You know, like this was a child.
Yeah.
And the astronomical odds of a child being born
Yeah.
Yeah.
are, I mean, it's insane. Like you had to be the fastest swimmer, and your parents had to be the fastest swimmer, and your grandparents had to be the fastest swimmer, and all that shit.
And that guy
like
was Hitler.
Yeah, and
Which is again crazy.
Yeah,
It's like all that happened and it was Hitler.
Uh-huh.
Hitler's sperm just swimming to the egg, just like
But yeah, that's it. I get why it can kind of be off-putting. You know, I mean, they showed actual footage of like
Oh yeah,
yeah.
starved. Yeah,
Yeah, work.
the starved people earlier.
yeah.
Death camp.
Like
dire. I almost said
fucking
survivors. but,
crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, those they
Fucking
didn't look like
crazy.
they were going to survive.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But I think the reason that montage, I mean, you need to see all that, and I think if you're gonna do, I almost wish there was no scenes in between it. Just took me out of it in general.
Mhm.
But again, when I mentioned in my review, it made me think of a scene in Slaughterhouse-Five in the book. Kurt Vonnegut basically this scene is written, but it's so beautifully written that I think that didn't help because I was like, well, I love how that's written, but I don't like how this is playing out.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna
read
say
that instead.
it reminded me of Slaughterhouse-Five in the same sense of the prologue in the book where Kurt Vonnegut goes to his old war buddy and he's like, I think I want to write like a fictionalized story of what happened to us. And like the other guy's wife overhears it from the other room and she's like, don't fucking write a book like that. You're gonna like blow it up like you guys were hot shit and stuff of that, but really you were just children who were scared shitless in a horrible situation. And that's how the book is actually written, and where it makes the characters seem very juvenile, and it makes the situation seem horrible, and then like it sends that home to you in that book. And I feel like this is kind of like the flip side of that.
Yeah, less funny.
Yeah,
Kurt Vonnegut is spectacularly funny, and
yeah,
I enjoyed
movie ain't
Inglorious
that.
Bastards way more.
that's not
Much more fun movie.
Yes.
Yep. Here.
Yeah.
Oh God. Well, we got through it. That's the movie. Sorry there was less jokes.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for
You'll
watching
understand.
this movie with me.
Well, we're gonna play a game where we try to cheer each other up.
We're gonna play Who's the Nazi. That's a game, isn't it?
Guess
There's a
who?
game. Guess who's the Nazi?
Ian's the Nazi,
We
just
watched the
staring at his
YouTube
phone, not
tutorial
giving a
on
shit
that.
about any of this.
Ian, remember?
Desensitized.
We watched a video on secret Nazis.
Did we?
Like the game, there's like a game. We watched a YouTube video. We were
I think
searching board games.
my
The
first
board game?
I don't remember. I don't remember
My-
shit.
my first message to you guys after seeing this was I either need to sell my guns or buy more.
Oh yeah.
I can't decide. I can't decide which one I need to do. Oh man.
You need to
I said do nothing.
buy one gun for you. Find the nearest Jewish person and buy them a gun also.
Yeah.
Buy them a gun too.
And then
Yeah,
you're good.
that's
There
true.
you go.
I don't know if I know any Jewish people. Is that fucked up?
Yeah.
I mean, Buffalo, man. I don't know.
No.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like,
I know some people who
but also, I mean, I might. I just don't feel like they announce it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're never like, yeah, I'm Jewish.
Whenever I
Oh,
see-
how's it going?
I would
Whenever
never
I
hang
used
out
to
with
see
that
my
person.
friend Jordan at the pool, I would just call him a Jew every single
There
time.
you go. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Jordan
oh,
walk
That's
up, I'm
the
like,
way
"What's
it
up,
should
you
work.
Jew?"
And then
he
that
would
person,
say,
that person might eventually just be like, I am Jewish. Somebody just started calling me Jewish, and
Yeah.
that's how I became a Jew.
That's how you become it.
I think the proper thing to do is I'm just gonna start asking everybody I know if they're Jewish, just to find out.
Hey,
Yeah.
man, you
No.
Jew?
Hey man.
I mean,
Hey man.
There
I
wasn't
mean-
a lot of Jewish Jew in this movie. There was only one scene
Mhm.
where there was
Oh
Jew.
yeah, where's the one man that they found?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only
Who,
one Yid.
who was that?
The Yid.
Yid?
We found a Yid.
We found a Yid.
Yeah.
Why do I not remember this?
It was like a.
It was when they
I might have
were
been
Yeah.
it was when
disassociating.
they were rounding up.
I was
all
just
the
blowing a
people.
whistle.
It was the town, wasn't it? They like
Yeah.
were like bringing everybody in, and
Yeah.
they had the men in the circle
Mm.
pit.
They're like, you thought you could hide on
Ah.
the edge of town, Jew. We knew you'd be there. They don't let you in the city.
He,
God
he was
damn it,
counting
dude.
his shekels.
Yep. They said, you sneaky boy.
With his claws.
Get in the
and
church.
Oh yeah, I remember now. Okay, they were crowd surfing out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
crowd
yeah.
surfed him.
Yeah,
In my bed.
and then the one Nazi that got trapped in the bar with him. He's like, "Let me out!" Let me out."
Well, it was the one like Nazi super fan. He was just like a kid who wanted to be a Nazi, wasn't he? Because he drew all over his helmet.
I think that was a kid from their village, and like he was like,
Yeah, he was like an edgelord.
He was cosplaying as a Nazi.
he's like,
Yeah.
don't kill me. I love you guys. I
And they
found
like
one in your
saved him, but
helmet.
then they like fucked him up. They didn't kill him, but they like were picking on him, right? Or like,
Oh, as they
Yeah.
should. Little
yeah,
bitch.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
dude.
What a nerd.
Bully that kid.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Bully that kid. Real trap shit.
That's a good job.
Hmm.
I'm gonna clip that. Bully that kid.
Bully that kid.
Oh, I mean, can we really make each other feel better
No.
at this point?
Let's
I
go
don't
to the
think we
wheel.
can.
Go to the wheel.
Let's go to the wheel.
Let's go to
Yeah.
the wheel.
Oh my gosh.
All right, so we've got The Glass House, Disturbia, The Babadook, Autopsy of Jane Doe, Patreon pick is Cobweb, and that's it.
That's terrible. You
Done.
suck.
Oh, and Hostel. Did I say Hostel? I think I already said that.
Redo it.
So that's it. So spin the wheel. It's Disturbia.
Whoa,
That's so exciting.
guys!
Disturbia, dog.
Do you guys do you
Wait.
really want to hear me sing
Hey,
the
Sass.
Disturbia song that many times
Yes.
throughout this?
Disturbia.
No. The one that plays during the movie. The
Me so horny
the
or?
I was gonna say like there's so many songs in this movie.
No, that's the one.
Oh.
That's the one.
I haven't seen this movie in a really long
I was
time.
gonna say
I'm
I've seen
so
this
psyched.
movie with Shane probably 13 years ago.
I'm so
Get Shane on
excited.
here.
There's no Nazis in this
Yep.
movie.
Yikes.
No tits in this movie.
PG-13.
No, but
Aw.
some PG-13 swimsuit scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It alludes to tits.
Some
Oh,
people
Shia LaBeouf,
Connery.
man. Oh my gosh.
Mm.
I'm really
Connery.
excited.
I wonder if he was
Hooliganism.
already a nightmare to work with then, or if he became a nightmare to work with after that.
Las chicas
I think he was.
calientes.
I bet people put up with him at that point.
I think he
you
was
know?
less of a what's the type of actor?
Oh, a
A
Method
method?
actor. Yeah, he was less of
Oh.
a method actor at that point.
Okay.
Well, I mean, he was
Did-
also just like being himself, probably.
Did you go
I
see this
guess.
in theaters with me, Ryan?
I don't think so. I think I watched it in your room.
Oh,
Or actually, it might have even been in your living room downstairs.
maybe.
But
auteur.
there's no reason for me to have brought that up. But
I think he would see himself as an auteur, and that would be so douchey.
Can we- Should we only swear like 5 times in this so that we don't?
Yeah, we have to
the
limit. We have to
PG-13
limit our.
rating?
There has to be a PG-13.
Let's
No
try
fucking
and
way we
let's
can do
try and
that.
get rid of the E. Like if we can release a non-explicit episode,
Oh yeah.
that would be insane. I don't think we can do it.
Wow.
We should have
Would
tried
it-
this one.
Would it really do anything for us though?
Probably not. But it's
We could try.
real quick. Does anybody else use Disturbia as a verb for when someone is driving in front of you and swerves away from a car that's like on the side of the road real quick? I'd be like, that dude almost fucking Disturbia'd me. Like,
Nope.
because
No.
I'm the only person who does that. Okay,
Is the
and
crack?
no one ever knows what I'm talking about. But like,
I'm
you-
suspicious when someone turns the same turns that I do for an amount of time, but
that's called
Because of
paranoia. That's different.
That's schizophrenia.
Um,
You got a lazy eye?
get my eye back in line there.
All right, guys. I think we made the best soda we possibly could with that.
That was good.
Right.
And,
Except Denozo's like, is Denozo puking on the floor back behind you?
Cazzo
No.
fatiste.
I think he's
Feels
trying
like
to.
he's puking.
He's doing something with my work pants. I don't know. Whatever. Anyways, thanks for listening, everybody. We will
Thank
see you
you.
next week with Disturbia.
We'll play a game next time. We promise.
Bye.
Yeah. Do,
Yeah.